Took me to
So
20.
I mean, which is incredible. We're going to unpack a lot of that 20-year timeline. When Panama kicks off, what are you doing at this point in the military?
So I'm in 7th Infantry Division in Fort Ord, California. Um, I end up there as a consequence of my attempts to get to the Ranger Battalion in Savannah, Georgia. Doesn't go the way I want it to. The Army thinks better of where they need me, and I end up at Fort Ord. And at the time, I didn't know even that there was an Army base at Fort Ord, um, Monterey, California. So in that area, and I was from Southern California, so I had no clue that there was Army base. It was all, from my knowledge, it was all Marine Corps and Navy bases. Um, but the Army's doing this thing at the time. So 10th Mountain Group is being formed, 7th Infantry Division is being formed. All the light infantry, so they're making this big transition to these light infantry divisions, and 7th Infantry was one of them. So it's a reactivation. They were active and then deactivated. Um, and so I spent a good 6 years there. But so as I grew up, I changed my MOS from engineering to infantry, and that was my that was where I started doing my infantry stuff. Other than I was at 7th or Ranger Regiment for a year and a half, but I wasn't ever assigned. I was always attached, and that's when I was trying to transition, and that was the thing I was doing on my own. That's what I wanted to go, so I was up for betting. Went and signed in the Ranger Regiment, stayed there for a good year and a half, but the Army at the time, those two divisions that were standing up, the light infantry thing was a huge thing. And eventually I had to go to Fort Ord. Ended up to be great. So they had this new thing going on too. There's they called it a cohort system. So the troops at the time were coming in and they stayed together through basic training, their advanced individual training, and then they go to this all at the same time to the same unit. So they all stay together through the whole process. So I go there with a bunch of other NCOs and officers to make the staff this new company and battalion that was being formed, and stayed with that group the first three years. That group was my first group. The second group that I had, that's the group that I ended up taking. We go to Panama with. So E6 kind of right at the right at the execution level of troops in combat. I loved every minute of it. But I was a squad leader, had uh, so what they call like tables of organization, right? There's only 9 people in a squad, and so and I was a squad leader. I have 2 team leaders, and then it goes down in the chain of command like that. And then you have the troops, right? So and I had 2 machine gun teams attached to me in Panama, additional folks attached to me in Panama because uh, unbeknownst to us, we were going to be right at the first stopping point for the Battalion 2000, which was Noriega's army, to come back into Panama and retake Panama City. And so that's where we end up. And it's like, okay, well, let's do it, man. This is the infantry.
Well, this is what I really want to kind of dive into to start here because I feel like people my age, I'm in my early 30s, certainly people 20s and in their teens, many of them don't even know Panama happened. If you said what happened in Panama, they'd be like, you mean the canal that's down there? They don't have a clue that the United States conducted military operations there. So
Yeah.
when you get to Panama, are you in the initial first wave of guys that go in?
Yeah, so I'm on 7th Infantry Division is a light infantry non-airborne unit. So as everybody's staging in, so 82nd jumps in, who we're eventually going to go help in Panama City, and we divide up Panama City. It's between the 7th Infantry and 82nd Airborne. So all those folks jump in. The Rangers jump in. That's the initial uh, infill. So December 20th, they're jumping in and they're on the ground. We're flying in, and we're hoping that one of the places that the main hub and the air base down there that's secured, and then others can land so we can start spreading out and then expand operations, right? So that was part of that. And we were delayed going in. We took off from Travis Air Force Base, and we're next stop was whatever that airbase name is in Panama City. I can't remember the name of the airbase now. But we get diverted and we have to land at in Texas. I can't remember the airbase there. I was near San Antonio. And because we're being told that the airfield's being attacked and mortared and shelled and all that stuff. So it's like, all right, well, we're gonna we're gonna jump, I mean, literally land right in the middle of it, right as it's going. And all right, let's do it. Let's do this thing, right? We know that guys are already on the ground, so we're eager to get in the fight too. And as the stages are going, they're on the ground. SEALs are doing their thing on the coast, and a lot of things are happening that night. And that morning, we get in that morning. I don't know, it was early in the morning, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Um, and we were able to land. We get ammo and everything like that. Get staged. We can't, since we were supposed to go to where we're supposed to go that first night, but because we were delayed, this is like the morning of the 21st, I would guess that would be. Um, we have to wait. There's not enough time to assemble the troops and get them loaded up on vehicles and get them into position, get us into position. So we have to wait till the next night to go in. So we're just sitting at the airfield all day, just waiting to go in. But all the whole time we're getting ammo and stuff like that. We can hear the firefighting going on and, the sights and sounds of war. And it was, you know, kind of exciting, but, kind of as a grunt, there's some anticipation, but there's also like, okay, let's do this. Let's get into it. We're here. Let's go. But we're waiting for cover darkness and all that kind of stuff.
And you mentioned the SEALs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were tasked. A SEAL team was tasked with taking out where Noriega's private plane was, right? And they
Yep.
lost. They lost some guys in what was a really intense firefight, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, they lost a few guys. They're on the ground doing the airplane, but also a few guys offshore drowned. I'm not sure if that was on infill or exfil. Yeah, so they lost a few guys. So Second Ranger Battalion's jumping in. The unit's there too. Eventually that I go there, but
The
they're doing their thing.
Kurt Muse.
Yeah, yeah, and so everybody's doing that whole night. It's pretty busy, right? And we're just watching the show. We can see all the firefighting going on, and so the airbase that you're at, it's separated by river, roadways and stuff like that. So there's whoever's on that side of the airbase. That's kind of what we're only worried about. We're not really too concerned about things, but we can see it happening right across the street, literally. And but we have to wait there all day, but luckily for us though, we were able to do that. And then it's kind of like back in the stories of World War II, right? 82nd jumps in and they're waiting for the ground forces to move in so they could be relieved, right? So kind of that's what we're doing. And we finally get there the next night and we split up Panama City. We had the jungle side of Panama City, then from the city out to the coast, 82nd Airborne had the other half. And basic combat recon patrols, chasing guys, raids and ambushes and, blocking positions and, normal infantry stuff.
Well, and that's what I'm really curious about. What type of resistance were Noriega's men able to put up? I mean, were they skilled fighters? Did they have the ability to really push back, or once the Americans rolled in, did they just start getting crushed?
Yeah, so initially they left. They left the city. So if they fought their way out of the city. Different story for all the folks in Rio Hato and all that stuff. That's Second Ranger Battalion and all the other folks scattered around Panama. But sporadic, I guess, gunfights going on, and the Battalion 2000, the Noriega's army, left the city and was regrouping to come back in to take the city when we get on the ground. And so that night they leave, and the next night they're getting ready to come back. So all we saw was sporadic, gunfighting going on. So they'll be sympathizers or what, I don't know, just normal citizens, really. I call them sympathizers, but they're on the Noriega side of things and in their thought process. So individuals, which is a little problematic. we had moving into position one night, the night we get there, uh when I'm told, okay, okay, Sergeant Force, I'm gonna give you some more guys. I'm gonna give you another machine gun team. And because the road to your front is the main road that they're coming back through into the city. And I was like, okay. All right, well, I did that. Let's do it. I got more machine guns, I got more guys, I got more rockets, I got more guns and everything. And so when we were sealing off this whole area that we were at, we're taking apart literally this uh, a fence, or I guess it was a decorative kind of a wall, right? They have these little concrete blocks that they just stack, and then they make the perimeter of their backyards and all that stuff. So we're putting that on the road, making obstacles for vehicles and stuff like that. In order to do that behind us, that's when we were getting shot at. And when we crossed the street, I was trying to block off this one street behind us and just put debris, whatever debris we can get, and put it in the roadway so nobody can come behind us. And we crossed the road once, crossed the road twice, and by the third time, I hear gunshots, and not close, not accurate. It's like a snapping sound you hear when it's passing by, right? And I heard it, and I was like, ducked down and moved over to the roadway out of the street. And I didn't see where it came from. I just heard it. And I was on one side of the road, and where I come from was my other guys. So I ran back across the street, heard it again, little snap sound, and two snaps. I was like, okay. And then I get an idea where it's coming from, and I still got to get this blocking position in. So I told the guys, the guys. So it flashed forward to the movie Black Hawk Down, where that one kid's like, "Hey, they're shooting at us, right?" And the Colonel McKnight character says, "Well, shoot back." Same shit happened, right? And so I get back to my guys, I hit the dirt beside them, and they're like, "Did you hear that?" I was like, "Yes, I heard that." "Did you see him? And why didn't you shoot back?" Right? I was expecting them to start shooting. Um, that's it. They couldn't see him where it came from either. And it's pitch black. So at the actual intersection, there's this one street light, and that was it. As soon as you left and that's kind of typical in Panama, just the jungle environment. As soon as you leave any illuminated area, I mean, real quickly it goes pitch black. And I ended up doing that a couple times because the barricade needed to be built. And every time we crossed the road, you hear the couple snaps, and I kept telling my guys on the ground, it's like, okay, pay attention up there, pay attention down the road, up on the hill. That's where the shots are coming from, and because we got to get this done. So I'm dragging stuff out there, and one of my guys was with me, just dumping stuff off really quick, and then running back, and then went to three, let's go again. And we did that till we would block the road. And but never found that dude, never shot at him. I guess I personally didn't stop and try to shoot. I made it my last attempt when I dropped the last bear. It was like a 55 gallon drum. I put it out in the middle of the road, and I've done that 5 or 6 times doing this, right? And so I stopped in the middle of the road, right underneath the street light. And the snaps, you could tell when they're how close they are, and um, just by the sound of the crack, right? And it was it's like, okay, I'm standing right here. You missed me 6 times. I was standing right there, and I look up to the hill. I was like, all right, I put my hands out and my arms out. I was like, all right, what? I was like, you guys see anybody? I'm trying to highlight this dude so that my guys could shoot him. And they're like, I can't see anything. And Sergeant P, as they all call me Sergeant P instead of Sergeant Porras, can't see anything. So I was like, all right. Then I ran off the road and just called it a night at that point, and then messed with the other side. But yeah, that was the first thing. And raiding and clearing the rooms and the houses that were around us to make sure everything in our little area was secure. That was what took up most of the rest of the our first night there. And then so the Battalion 2000 that's supposed to be coming back, we're on this it's a four-way intersection, and we got it all blocked off the best we can with what we had on the ground, and a couple of Humvees dropped off some equipment for us, concertina wire and all that kind of stuff. And so when they're supposed to come up, well, so that whole night, we can hear the AC-130, the Spectre gunship. We can see the airplane, and he's not too far away, and he's hammering somebody down the street, down the road. And we thought, just based off looking at maps and stuff, that okay, hopefully they're, I guess they're hitting the Battalion 2000 that was supposed to come down that road. And sure enough, they were. We didn't find that out till later, but they were just hammering whoever was down that road. And we're like, wow, I hope they minimize them enough that they're not coming down this road anymore, right? And that's exactly what happened. And then that whole night was just anticipation of, meeting that army coming down the road. And we were pretty ready. We had enough, I think, uh rockets and claymores. We had the whole road just rigged with all kinds of stuff. Um, so we were ready. They never came. But coming down that road is when I first meet the unit guys for the first time. And so I had that whole road blocked off. So there's cars stopped. And for the people who are stopped, I said, they're just not obstacles for the Battalion 2000. So get out of your cars. I don't care what you're doing. Just get out of your cars and leave them, park them. And so I just kind of used that as a means to block the road, or additional means to block the road. And one of my guys calls me from the sun's coming up, and one of my guys calls me to this position. He's down the road a little bit, and he's talking to somebody, and I can see him talking to some guys in a panel van, and he radio squawking. I need you to come down here. I was like, okay, I'll be there in a sec. I need to get down there. There's these two Hispanic guys in the front, and it's a panel van with no windows. It's a white panel van, and I see the guys as I'm walking toward it. I see the two guys. They're Hispanic. It could be Battalion 2000 Panamanians. I don't know. Um, and not in uniforms or anything like that. And I asked them what they're doing. They said, "Hey, Sergeant." They recognized, "Hey, Sergeant, we need to get to the Papal Nuncio or something like that." It was either the Papal Nuncio or the Comandancia still. I'm not sure which one now, but and we need to get through here. And I had already just trashed this whole road. I just trashed it with all these cars and claymores and stuff. And I said, well, don't get off the road because we've mined the whole side walls and the shoulders and all that stuff. So so let me clear the road and let you guys through. And the only reason, and it was like, well, what are you doing? Who are you with? What's in the back? Do you have any guns and ammo? And yes, there's a whoever was down the road, and I'm guessing now they were the guys who are directing fires on the AC-130 down the street all night. And now they have to get in town. Almost positive Noriega was at the Papal Nuncio at that point. But they had to get back in town. And so parted the waters, got everybody out of the way. They went to wherever they were going. And later on, I mean, almost a year later, it wasn't that long after that. When I go to selection, they kept asking me that. They're like, "Hey, were you in Panama?" It's like, yes. They're like, "Hey, you're that guy at the blocking position." And then they're messing with me because the helicopter got shot down with Muse in it. Um, they were saying that was a whole nother unit and in another part of town. But they said, "Hey, you're the one who shot us down." I'm like, "No, I wasn't that guy. I was on the other side of town. I met your other dudes in the panel van. That was me." Um, and no, we didn't get shot at. We didn't shoot at you, or you guys are good.
When you stopped him in the van, did you look back in to see how many people they had in the van, or could you only see the two people sitting up front?
Yeah, no, so I had to look, right? I was like, I gotta look. Just if you're legit, I gotta look. So open it. So me and my guy Smitty, he's the guy who called me down there. He's like a E4 203 gunner. And so whatever I don't know what I was expecting to see either, right? So it's like, okay, yes, we do have guns and we do have guys in the back. Okay, so I got to see just to make sure you guys are legit. And so we do this little thing where it's like a clearing vehicles, basic infantry stuff, right? Somebody's going to get the door. I'm going to get my rifle up and check the back. And just like going through a room, going through a door. And sure enough, door opens, and here I'm being face to face with unit guys, you know, and so I easily recognize who it is because of the American flags and their uniforms and stuff like that. And it was one of those things where it's almost like I was at a loss for what to do, what to say, and just like shut the door. And it's like, okay, you guys are good. My apologies.
What did the guys in the back of the van do when they saw you? Were they just staring at you?
Oh yeah. So yeah, but they were ready to like, who is this guy? And when I deal with that now, well, later on when I'm in Iraq and Afghanistan, that is that is a tense moment when you're friendly, but you're not dressed like everybody, and you have these soldiers on the ground who are just ready to go. I mean, they're ready to shoot at anything, right? And that later on in my career, that becomes, reality to me. And it's like that is the worst feeling in the world. One, to have a gun pointed at you, but to have a jacked up army dude who's ready to start killing anything. Just self-preservation, right? But yeah, they were ready, just like I was. And it was like, okay, well, I guess you guys are guess you guys are good.
That's absolutely incredible. And was that the first time? I mean, did you know what Delta Force was before Panama? Like, had you heard about them, or was that kind of your first introduction to the tier one element?
I've heard about them, but even then, I hadn't really thought I was even in that, um, I guess, capability, or in even that wasn't even a thought in my head because I didn't think there's no way there's no way I can be one of those guys, right? So I really never thought about it. At the time, I was going to SF